Are we live?
Facebook.
How do I check on?
Well, it should go all live automatically because it canceled my window on me. So let's just let Facebook ride.
Okay.
You went go live on YouTube, so he should be live here.
Let me see. I hit go ahead. There
Hey!
we go. And we're live.
We're live, all right. This is, all right. This is the first episode of The Periphery with Brandon Fertig, coming at you live from MCN Studio in Northeast Minneapolis. I'm teaming up with MCN this time around to use their equipment. They want to hear my interviews, and we're teaming up to bring these interviews out to you live, and then also later on MCN's Twin Cities Channel 6, about a week after edited and fit for TV. Those of you who are on my channel now, you know who I am. If you don't know who I am, my name's Brandon Fertig, and I got good at interviews when I hit the road, when I traveled, and I started doing a couple of road trips around the U.S. where I interviewed people about their parts of the country, right? What's it like living where you live? Well, what's it like being a resident of, or identifying with where you live? What's it like being a Southerner or someone from the Pacific Northwest? And they gave me their insights, their outlooks on the world. We might talk about an issue or two. And that's really the point of this channel, is to connect with people, to hear about ideas, to hear about issues in the country, and to just get some one-on-one connection. I'm teaming up with MCN to bring that in studio for a more focus. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be out and about and have my environments change depending on where I'm interviewing. We're going to be here at the studio, but obviously my guests will change week after week. And we're going to have, because it's in the studio, we're going to have it more in depth, locked in. And in case you're wondering, by the way, what these are for, when you see people with them and you wonder why, it's because now when I speak to VJ, my guest today, it's going to sound like we're right close to each other, and we don't have to speak up to cross the space between us and have to yell or anything like that. We're going to be right there, and that really helps you lock in for a great interview. These videos are streamed on my YouTube channel and on the MCN6 Facebook page. So you can either check them out there, and they're going to be streaming here week after week. We encourage your comments. We encourage your questions. We want you to ask questions. And today, I don't think you'll have a problem coming up with questions, because this guy has everything. This guy's story is powerful. This guy's ideas about improving the world are powerful. And the issues we talk about are going to be powerful. My guest today is VJ Smith of Minneapolis Mad Dads. He's the president of Minneapolis Mad Dads, which I'll let him tell you more about. But VJ has worked his way up from some struggle to now work with individuals in the inner city, helping them pull themselves up and living empowering, impactful, productive lives. So it's my pleasure. I've known this guy for like 4 or 5 years. It's an honor to have him on this show, The Periphery with Brandon Fertig's #1 first show, first guest, VJ Smith.
Hey, thank you very much for having me on, and congratulations on your show and an opportunity to expose people to something they may not have gotten exposed to, and also give them an opportunity to meet great folks in this community, because we're doing some powerful stuff as the national president of Mad Dads, and also as a person that's working around the country doing global work around peace, promoting peace around the world. I'm honored to be here, Brandon, because you were one of the individuals that said, look, there's some stuff going on and I need to take a deeper look at it. Star Tribune and all these other entities that come around, they go to the, if it bleeds, it leads, and you looked in there deeper and said, there's something deeper than just that. If it bleeds, it leads, but there's something deeper. What is the root cause of the bloodshed? What is the root cause? And you came in and started talking to people and putting yourself on the front line. I'm proud of you for that. I'm honored to be here for your new show.
Oh, thanks so much. Well, you are really on the front line, obviously, and I just want people to first get your story. So, how did you grow up? How did you get to be the community leader that you are today?
Well, I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri, and at the age of 9 years old, my mother left. And she didn't come back. And so my stepfather took me to juvenile detention, where I stayed there, and I was in probably about 6 foster homes. across that period of time. The last foster home I was in, the two of my foster brothers, they were in organized crime, and so they introduced me to some of that as a young kid. And then eventually I fought that. I actually wanted to be a police officer. I actually wanted to work in law enforcement, and I became a security guard. But it wasn't making me much money, and these foster brothers kept coming around, and they seen that I was courageous, that I wasn't afraid, that I had no fear, and they thought you'd make a good part to be a part of the black mafia, that like you would be a good candidate. And so they caught me at a time where I felt like really discouraged. As a security guard, I didn't have much money, and I still really didn't have that family connection. And they said, come on, be a part of this family.
All right, hold on. There's just so much there right from the start, right? So what happened to your mom?
Well, my mom, she was, I guess, not in a very good relationship. She decided she wanted to leave. During that time, though, she did decide to come back and get me, but I was in the system. And I think once they got you in the system at that time as a person of color, they kind of kept you in that system because it makes money for the system. You know.
So she left. How old were you? And you said
I was 9 years old.
Okay, and then your dad put you in foster care.
My stepfather left me, took me to juvenile detention at 9, and my little brother, which was his son, he was 5 at the time. It was right before the 4th of July, so it was about the 1st of July. We had just got our fireworks. It's called a sack of fireworks then. You didn't get a whole bunch, you just got a little sack. And I gave my sack to him, and that was the last time I seen him until about 40 years later. And I got reconnected with my mom 3 years ago, and now I take care of her. She's got dementia, but I'm so happy to have her in my life.
Okay. And you resisted, it sounds like, throughout your teenage years, to maybe join a gang or do something to steal or do something like that, and you kind of stayed on the straight and narrow and then got a job. Is that true?
I wish I could say that. I tried to start my own little gangs. Like I had the Devil's Angels. I had a little bike club. We go out late at night, and I teach you guys how to hold the back wheel so it didn't make noise. Keep your bike on the porch, hold the back wheel till we get a block down, and we go in places to just steal stuff. And so I wasn't really
This was like teenage years.
Yeah, it was my young years, like 11, 12, on and on. I would do stuff like that. But one thing that happened to me, I stole a bike from. We used to drive to the white neighborhoods where the bikes were nice, and I stole a bike from a family. They chased me and caught me, and in the middle of that, it was a baseball field, and these white families were playing baseball, and somebody screamed, "Get that nigga!" And they all were coming after me because somebody said he stole a bike, and they were all coming at me to beat me. And the white guy said, "No, I got him." He took me back, gave me my broken bike, he fixed it, and took me back home, dropped me off at my house, and said, "Don't ever steal a bike again." That was the last bike I ever stole. And
this was like the 1960s, Kansas City?
Yeah, Kansas City, back in the 60s. And so I, being introduced to the black mafia, I learned how to shoot, I learned how to do collections, I learned how to sell cocaine and heroin, I learned how to deliver and all that stuff, and shipments, and fly out across the country and do all that. But in the midst of all that, I kept realizing that, am I doing what God called me to do? And the answer kept being no.
So when you were a security guard, just to go back a little bit, you were just kind of scraping by. So when they invited you to join, they probably tried a few times to get you to join. You finally relented and said, okay, I'll do organized crime.
Yeah, so the one thing that made me make that decision, in Kansas City, they're big on race cars and racetracks. And I was security at a racetrack, but it was all white folks, right? And I was trying to tell them what to do. I had a gun, and legally, but they were saying a lot of racial slurs. And I was just fed up. I just got the N-word, I got called that so many times, and I wasn't used to it because I'm used to, in Kansas City, I was used to being in a neighborhood where you didn't get called that unless we were just kidding with each other. But I mean, they were really making me mad. I wanted to shoot up some people, right? But I knew that wasn't the right thing to do. And my foster brother came, he picked me up. James Gibson, that's his name. He came to pick me up, and he just said to me, "You know what? You don't have to do this. Like you got what it takes, man. You can do something different. And I finally gave in and said, you know what, you're right. And I threw my uniform away, and I kept my gun.
And that was like in the 70s by now, or?
Yep, that was in the 70s. And so then I got started. And
Okay.
my first job my first job in the black mafia was to take fives and tens and make them hundreds. So I'd have big bags of $5 bills and $10 bills and $20 bills. And my first gig was to go from bank to bank
Oh, wow.
to
Just
launder money.
changing out money.
Change out money. That was my first gig. And then it went on and on until I learned the whole business and learned all of that. And, I can say to the day that a lot of that stuff I learned has been beneficial in terms of running a nonprofit, right? In terms of running a business, in terms of taking care of business. But the good part about it is at the end of the night now, I can go to sleep.
Yeah.
I can sleep well knowing that I'm doing the right thing. And that transformation of how I even got from the black mafia to nonprofit is a whole nother story.
Was that the name of the gang, Black Mafia? Is that the name
No,
of it?
no, it's like, there's a Mexican mafia.
Yeah.
There's a, Irish mafia. There's a German mafia. This was the black mafia.
Of Kansas
African
City?
Americans, yeah.
Or was it like nationwide?
Kansas City.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how that stuff's organized.
Yeah,
Like, are
you don't want to know.
there chapters?
They're just different cities. Everybody's, the black mafia is just, they're led by African Americans.
Yeah. Are they still around? Is that still a thing?
They're still around. Yeah.
Okay.
Some of them are still alive.
And they exist like by doing the things that aren't legal, right? That's where the money comes from, because that's where the profit is.
Prostitution,
Yeah.
theft, drugs, gambling. I mean, they buy properties, they do businesses, they do everything.
What would you do for them?
Well, my job was collections. Like, my job was to go to people that owe money and collect. My job was also to pick up large amounts of heroin and cocaine in New York or LA or wherever the shipment was. And then my other job was to deliver and collections and delivery. So they had somebody else. If somebody didn't pay or they owed money, there was, Bruno did his thing. I just like, they don't want to pay, man. So that was their job. Everybody had a job. That was my job. So my job was, like in sales, like what you need, we got it, I got you. And also it was my job, since I was the youngest, to maintain and hold all the weapons and make sure that, they were where they're supposed to be and that kind of a thing. There was a lot of trust.
Yeah.
And I also realized if anything ever happened, that I would have to take the hit for whatever happened. Like, I knew that early on that I signed up for this. So if I get caught, then I get caught. There's no dropping names. It's just on me. And that's part of the deal, which is different now. People get caught and they tell everything. But I knew at that time when I was involved that it was going to be on me. And only by the grace of God am I not in it. And many of the people, there's one brother that kind of taught me a lot about organized crime. He's still around today. He's got businesses and he lives in Kansas City. And I visit him from time to time. And it's interesting how he looks to me for insight and wisdom now. Whereas I was a little bit angry. I was angry because I thought, if you loved me, why, and you knew me when I was young, 16, why didn't you tell me to go to college? Why didn't you tell me to? And I never asked him that, but I realized because I was valuable where I was. I wouldn't have been as valuable in college, because then I would have moved on to something greater. And it was Rockmar, which one of my proteges from Kansas City that came up here with me, told me one day. I said, man, you're smart. You got property and everything. Why don't you go to school? He looked at me and says, why don't you? You're smarter than I am. And that's when I went down to the University of Minnesota and brought my briefcase, and they kindly put me in a car and tucked me down to Minneapolis Community and Technical College and said, bro, you graduated in 72, man. You're not going to want to be at the U. MCTC is going to be a better place for you. And I decided to start my journey to get an education.
So that was in 72?
That was more like in 90 something.
Oh, you graduated in 72, you said. High school.
High school.
Yeah,
Graduated
okay,
high
okay.
school in 72.
So for the 70s and 80s, you were in the Black Mafia?
Yeah, I was in organized crime.
You lasted that long. That's a long time, no?
Yeah. So
I would guess most
I
people
made it.
wouldn't.
I didn't think I'd live. I never thought I'd live this long. I never expected to live this long. I'm 64 now. I never expected to live this long. I always thought that, when I became 25, I asked God, what am I still doing here? I asked God, why am I still alive, man? I'm not supposed to be alive. I'm not even supposed to be here. What am I still doing here? And so the other piece, I don't want to miss a piece in there, is that I went on the run. I went on the run, and I had to go on the run for a lot of different reasons. But I went on the run, and then I changed my identity and did all that stuff. But while on the run, I was in Oklahoma City, and I started to go to church. And I went to church, and the apartment building I was staying in was full of crime. It was infested with, everybody hated each other, fights all the time. And I asked the management team, could I do something to change this? And they said, yeah, you sure can, whatever, we don't care. And I started getting the kids together first. I had the kids love on each other. I did games and barbecues with the kids. Then I brought the families together. And then I went to the payphone. I was like, man, you guys love each other. This is great. Let me get on the payphone and see if I can come back to Minnesota or go back to Kansas City. Let me see if any of these police are still looking for me. And called the phone, and I kept calling on this payphone, and they kept, we don't have anything for you. You're good. So I got a Greyhound bus.
You were seeing if there was warrants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got a Greyhound bus, and I told everybody in the complex that I was leaving and I was going to go back to Minnesota.
Why were you in Minnesota? You said back to Minnesota, so you'd been
Yeah.
here once before?
I'd been here, and I was a DJ at the time. I had a show called Late Night Love with VJ the DJ. And me and Chaz Millionaire had this show together, and it was a very popular show. But there was a phone call that I got from some authorities, right, that said, we're coming to get you. And I was like, you got to catch me. So then I left, right? So the thing was...
Were you doing the same thing up here at the first time you were up here? The drugs and things like that?
Well, I came up here from Kansas City to get away from all that.
Yeah.
But that was during when the Cubans were coming up here, and there's a lot of people that didn't know what to do with all this cocaine that was here. Well, remember, I come from Kansas City, and I already knew how to do all this stuff, and I had all this wisdom, but I came up here to get away from it. And I had met a young lady that said, at the time I was just selling a little weed, and I was just kind of, doing my thing, but all these people kept coming up to me, man, show us what to do with this cocaine. And I was like, man, I'm not trying to do that no more. But once I started doing it, well, here's what really happened, to be honest with you. So the girlfriend said, don't deal drugs and we can be together. I said, fine. But then she got her income tax, and it's like $1,600. And I asked for $20, and she said, no. I was like, well, why am I asking you for money when I know how to hustle? I got all this wisdom about the streets. And I just made phone calls and told everybody, it's on, let's get busy.
Oh.
Like, we're going to work. And I got the cocaine, I got the heroin, I got everything, and I start moving. And I had wads like that in my pocket. I didn't have to ask for nothing. And that was probably the worst thing I did, because I got my own apartment, I did all that, and SWAT team came in and kicked my door in, and all kind of stuff happened. I got beat up by the SWAT team and all that, and then I eventually left again, right? And so, one of the things is that while I was at this church in Oklahoma City, and this whole family that was turning their lives around, because I got on the Greyhound bus to come back here, and when I got to Greyhound, all those families were at the bus station, and they had gifts, and they said to me, you changed our lives. And I thought to myself, I know what I am now. I'm not a drug dealer, I'm a hope dealer. And that God put me here to bring hope to everything I touch. And that I no longer have to worry about or struggle again about money, because money is not the object of why I'm here. The object of why I'm here is that, and I knew this at a young age, when I was 9 years old, an old white couple at the bus stop came to me and said, can you help us with our marriage? And I was like, sure. And they gave me a series of questions, and I gave them answers. They said, thank you. I knew something. I said, God, I am somebody special. You gave me a gift. And I don't know what it is at 9, but it's something special. And I guess I got to work it and use it. And I used it in a lot of ways for the bad, but I'm now using it totally for the good. So when all those people came, I was crying. I was like, man, they had gifts for me and everything. I'm like, this is what I want for the rest of my life. I want to be able to bring hope to people, not because I remember that when I was selling drugs, that a family came to my door and said, our husband, since he's met you, he's not the same. I was selling him heroin. He's not the same. Matter of fact, he hasn't showed up in months. And we figured we'd come to you because now we need groceries. And we figured he's been coming to you for years, but now he's totally gone. Can you buy us some groceries? And I thought to myself, I never want to do this to another family. I never want to. I know drug dealers don't think about it, and they probably don't care. Because I remember I would say to some drug dealers, friends of mine, I don't sell drugs to pregnant women, and I don't sell drugs to kids. And they say, hey, well, they're going to get it from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just something that I believed in,
Mm-hmm.
because God was even talking to me then. But drug dealers would tell you all the time, they don't care who they sell to, and they don't care how much it destroys their lives. But God put something inside of me that said, I cannot put profit before humanity. I can't do it.
You got a big heart. And it really came out, or you really felt it in Oklahoma when you were leaving.
Right.
And you came up here then, and was that when you became ordained, or?
I came back up here, and I was looking for a church. I was in South Minneapolis. I was looking for a church, and I found a church.
Well, first, how did the charges that you had here for dealing go away?
Well, they didn't really catch me. And so they were still looking for me to kind of figure it all out. And I disappeared. So you can't charge something that you don't have anything, and then I just decided that that's not what I want to do, because evidently, if they're looking for me, I don't want to be a part of that.
It's like God gave you a second chance or something here.
God gave me a second chance. Actually, to be honest with you, when a SWAT team came in and broke the door down, there was a kilo of cocaine that they set me on top of it. And they tried to get me to tell me where it was, and I was sitting on it. And so when I got home, it was still there, and I called the guy that I got it from and gave it back. I says, I can't do this no more.
So they missed it.
They missed it, and thank God, because I wouldn't be here sitting here talking to you today. I'll still be just getting out probably maybe in a few years. So I got blessed. I really got blessed.
So how did that lead to Mad Dads?
Well, it led to Mad Dads because when I started, I said I want to be back on the streets, but I want to be back on the streets in a positive way. I want to be doing something positive. So I started a group called Black on Black Love in South Minneapolis, and we started just going around reaching out to communities.
And were you ordained at this point?
No, I wasn't ordained, and I wasn't even a minister yet. I'm trying to remember exactly what year. It was 90-something that I became a minister, and how that happened was pretty phenomenal. God really moved in that area. But I'm going to go back to Black on Black Love was an organization I started because I believed that we needed more love in the Black community, and so I called it that. And somebody said, Black on Black Love is not going to get us any grants. Black on Black Love is not going to get us any support. And Art Erickson had told me about a group called Mad Dads, which started in Omaha, Nebraska in 1989. And so we started, and so I found out about Mad Dads. Art Erickson and Urban Ventures helped us kick it off. And they were our physical agents for a number of years. And we started just hitting the streets. And I gave Black on Black Love to someone else. And then at the time, Brian Heron was a city council person. And so I asked Brian, I said, man, what are we going to do about these streets? He said, let's get out there. I said, okay, cool. He says, who's going to do it? He said, why don't you? So there we go. So that kind of started Mad Dads, and Ron Bell and some others we met in their basements in South Minneapolis, just kind of get things started. And so we just started walking the streets. I had a day job. I was working for Archie Givens, Sr. His dad was one of the first developers to develop property in Edina and Minnetonka ever in the history of Minnesota to ever own and develop property as an African American. And they actually have a library at the University of Minnesota for African American books. But I worked for him, and he let me work for him while I was starting Mad Dads. For 5 years, actually. I worked for him while I started Mad Dads, and I eventually was able to raise enough dollars to go full time, and I'm excited about that. So, that history is always going to be an important part of how we did Mad Dads. It just started out as volunteers getting out there and making it happen.
So tell the people at home what Mad Dads is. Like, what do you guys do? What do you mean you hit the streets?
Absolutely. Mad Dads stands for Men Against Destruction, Defending Against Drugs and Social Disorder. And what we do is a four-pronged thing. We do intervention and prevention. We do the community outreach. We do grief and trauma. and we also do family programming. We have a family group. Me and John Turnipseed do a family group every Tuesday night from 5:30 to 7 to help families, fathers and mothers, empower their families. We found out if we have strong families, we have a strong community. The other thing that we found out is that people that are in poverty stricken, they don't know how to do relationships well. And so they don't know how to have a healthy relationship, because they didn't come from a healthy relationship. If your mom and dad were screaming and beating each other, then you think that's normal.
Yeah.
Look, I'm going to slap you, girl, if you don't act right.
Yeah.
When you do that, you play you play with the kids and you watch the kids playing. I'm going to smack you if you don't act right. That just keeps going down. And before you know it, everybody's got a domestic. And so what we found out, we have groups. When we bring families together, we found that if the daycare is involved, we found that on the way home and on the way there, families are talking about family dynamics. Like I hear the kids say, "Dad, don't say that." Remember in the group when they were talking and they said, "This is how you be a good father. This is what you should do." And then mom said, "Yeah, that's right. That's what happened." And the kids are like, "Yeah, we got to be healthy about
So you have
this."
these parenting or relationship classes?
Every Tuesday at 5:00, 5:30 at 3023 4th Avenue, we have a parenting class for parents to just come learn how to be better parents. We have a guy that found out about us, and he's got an arms worker and all that, but he comes every week because he hasn't any opportunity to be just around positive people. And he comes every week. He's so inspired, man. He says, before that, I was suicidal. I was losing my mind. But now every week I look forward to being around positive people. Our support groups, we were giving some federal funding. Our support groups were up to 100 fathers a week. And because we lost that funding, here's the other thing. You got to talk about the system when you talk about the system. If I'm saving 100 fathers a week, do you know how many people I'm preventing from being incarcerated a week? If I'm saving 100 fathers a week, I'm preventing X amount, 100 fathers from going to the penitentiary and the prison.
Yeah.
If I'm doing that, then I'm decreasing the amount of dollars that go to the penitentiaries and the jails. And if that's not good for economics,
I suppose it comes down to which like jails is a different part of the budget than community outreach or something like that, right? So that I'm guessing that those two appendages of the government don't necessarily interact or talk to each other, so that the funding isn't going to be swapped between the two. I don't know, but
what I'm going to say is this, though, is that if I'm creating a system where 100 fathers a week are not going to jail, and then after 5 years of doing that consistently and successfully and being one of the best fathering programs in the nation, and then you take that funding and then you come in and then you do a survey and then you tell us and you fund us to turn people away. That was the weird part. Like they came in and said, "We're going to fund you just to turn people away." We're like, "Why are we doing that?" Like, we don't turn people away. We don't do that. And then you snatch all the funding once you find out all the formulas of how we do everything, and you do that federal thing, and then all the funding goes away. And we have to start over. We started over because we felt like we just couldn't let our people go like that. We don't have the funding. I'm not going to say we're never going to get it, but we don't have the funding we had. Minnesota was number one or number two in the fathering programs in the country. We're not that anymore because the funding left Minnesota. Because now what they're saying and not saying and what's happening is that they didn't put the priorities on fathers now. We've lost that priority. We're trying to gain it back. We're working with the Capitol. We're working with folks at the Capitol to bring that back. But that was done for a reason. That now, let's look at the numbers. 5 years of bringing fathers together. Let's look at the numbers now of how many of those fathers are getting incarcerated or being locked up because the fathering program is not as strong as it used to be. Nobody's doing that because it doesn't matter, because it's about profit. So we need to take a look at that, though.
Yeah.
I don't have anybody to pay to do that because federal government, they can research and pay for research. But nobody's even looked at that. Why haven't we looked at that? That fathering did work, and we did stop fathers from going to the penitentiary. And why aren't we looking at that and saying, give that money back and let's go back to what works?
Well, what I'm optimistic about in the year 2020, when you can go online and start a GoFundMe, start a Kickstarter, and raise money through Facebook, independent of needing to go to a city council or a county commissioner or a senate or a house. We can just get the money directly. And I sat in on one of these parenting classes. I sat in on one of the jobs classes. I sat in on one of your North 4.
North at work.
It was a class where you had like
The young people.
yeah, the young
North
guys.
4. Yep, that was North 4.
And you're working with young juvenile boys who've gotten in some trouble,
Yep.
and you're straightening their paths, you're straightening their lives out, coaching them, mentoring them. And I was
County
just
homeschool.
I was blown away by all of this. See, what got me to meet you was that it was around the times of Black Lives Matter, and there was all this noise, obviously, about the systemic issues, police, and things like that
Right.
that are coming down and hurting Black communities. But I also noticed a lot of the problems from within Black communities as well. And I said, is anyone doing anything like that? And I remember a Facebook friend said, yeah, go look for him. And I think he even pointed me out in the direction of a couple. And then I found you, and I went to these classes, and I was like, oh my gosh, these classes are going on. And I didn't know there was this kind of empowerment work happening in urban communities in Minneapolis. And so I wrote about it for the Star Tribune, and I've been, a close friend of yours since. I've also been observing how it's tougher for governments to, I think, maneuver. Like when I talked about the budgeting thing a second ago, I wasn't like defending and saying, oh, they're not doing that because this, and it's a good reason. I was just saying government's kind of, it's bureaucratic, it's messy, you got to get approved. It's like, why don't we just go straight to the people? So I don't have to go through a radio station to have this show, right? Here I am. I don't need to be on TV. I just go live, stream, boom, here we are. And I think in a similar way, nonprofits will be supported that way. It'll come directly from the people. We won't have to rely so much on, So while we're talking, why don't you tell people about your website? So if they've heard enough and they want to donate to your group, how would they do that?
That'd be great. And, your donations are tax deductible. We're 501c3. You can go to www.minneapolismaddads.org. And you can go there, and there's actually a donation button you can go to, and we'd love to get your support. Matter of fact, if you go to that website and you tune into us, it gives you an opportunity to see that the work that we're doing goes for a great cause. Our mission statement and everything is on there, talking about our people, the folks that work for us, the folks that do good work for us, man. We've got 1 million hours out on the street now. 1 million hours out on the street.
We need to talk a lot more about that, because that's really what Mad Dads was founded on, was the street outreach stuff, right?
Yes, man. Yes, sir.
First, Joe, do you have that pulled up?
I did.
For viewers to see that website?
Yep, it's up now.
Okay, cool. If I remember right, there was just a guy in Omaha, Nebraska, who's fed up with the drugs and the crime and the gangs and stuff like that.
1989, there was 3 African American men that were just tired and fed up of the destruction and death. Gangs that started coming in from Chicago and other places to Omaha, Nebraska, because it was new turf, new money, new customers, and they were saturating Nebraska. And they just got fed up. And John Foster, which is deceased now, God bless his soul, and Eddie Stanton, they went out with their guns looking for the individual that beat their son. Couldn't find them. He said, I'm a mad dad. And Bishop Tyler was an architect and a minister, and he came up with the acronym Men Against Destruction, Defending Against Drugs and Social Disorder. And President Bush gave them the 1,000 points of light, and they were recognized by Bill Clinton and others. And so it became an international program, looked at all over the country in terms of a model to represent fathers taking their communities back.
And now that has, up to the present day, Mad Dads does not armed, I don't think, but you go around and you...
We are armed. We're armed with love, information, hope, and an opportunity to transform individuals and to be a part of something positive. looks like we got some people on, huh?
Yeah, there's a few there, and thanks for the questions. Keep going with your story. We'll bring the questions in a bit.
We'll get some questions.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So when you talk about how do you transform all this into something good, and how can you do this without staying too focused in on, the money part, because it takes money to do everything.
Yeah.
And what we're looking for dollars for right now is administration and training, because you have to, this work is tough. It's hard confronting individuals that don't want to change, but it's got to be done.
Talk about that a little bit. Like, you guys go out in your van or just walk the streets if it's not too cold, I suppose, or even if it is, walk them anyway, and you confront gangs, you confront drug dealers.
Well,
talk a little bit about that.
They're our family. These are all our family. Like we don't consider them and put them into categories like that.
Okay.
Like if a young man is involved in a gang or a clique or whatever, he's still our son. That's like if a girl's involved in prostitution or theft or credit cards, that's still our daughter, man. They see, law enforcement looks at it like good guys and the bad guys.
Yeah.
And we look at it like, here's some people that are just like us. I'm no better than anybody else. I sold drugs to people and I destroyed their lives. And some days I have to look at those individuals and say, you still doing that, man? I wish I'd have never turned you on to cocaine. Look at you. You're still a crackhead. But I still got to love on you. I still got to support you. And I still got to try to lift you up. Can I get you in treatment? These young men that are fatherless, that are out here and joining gangs. I tell you, my job is the opposite of a gang leader's job. So a gang leader's job is to recruit and bring you into the gang so that you can sell drugs and destroy the community. My job is to hopefully get you out of the gangs so you can be productive and change the community and lift it up and protect it. Sometimes when you take an athlete and he gets hurt or he gets wounded, he can't no longer, or something happens to him physically and he can't play, he decides to go to be into crime. And so he turns into a person that destroys the community. But if you take a gang member, strengthen him up, put him on a baseball team or a football team, then you turn that gang member into a productive citizen in our community. So many times, my role and my job is to take a person and turn them into somebody productive, because we all have greatness within us. It's just you need somebody to be around you to tell you how great you are. And we really, really have a problem with that. Our young men are not being told they're great. Matter of fact, I know young men that hate their fathers, and they hate their fathers, and they hate their fathers because they keep lying and saying they're going to show up and never show up. And those men probably don't mean to be like that, but their father never showed up.
Yeah.
And so they don't really know how to show up.
Yeah.
And so it's our job to have these parenting groups to teach these fathers how to show up and be there, because we can't arrest our way out of this.
Yeah.
But some people do need to be locked up.
Yeah.
But some of them need love. I remember going into a gang infested area and I put my arm around a dude. He looked at him like, man, if you don't get your arm away from me. And he asked the other guy, said, man, who is that dude, man? If he touched me, I'm gonna shoot him. Or like, why would he touch me? And the guy said, that's mad dads, man. That's what they do. Like, you better get used to that. Whenever they come around, they might put their arms around you. They might pray for you. They're going to embrace you. They're going to ask you what's going on. They're going to do that. Like, you don't get to treat them like you treat everybody else, because that's what they do. And I thought that was admirable for one gang member to tell another gang member. That's what Mad Dads does.
You've developed that clout in these communities so that when people see the green sweatshirt, they know who it is. They know, that's you're not a threat, that you're there to help. Is that safe to say that you've developed that kind of relationship with people?
We develop those kind of relationships because we don't look at them as gang members and thieves and robbers. We look at them as individuals that are part of our future, that need to be transformed, and even those that are older are part of our present that needs support and love. And as long as we can give you that, You know, there's a young lady. She's always prostituting and high on drugs, but every time she sees me, she cries because she knows that I'm still not doing right. I'm so sorry. I want to try to get better, and she seems like she's getting a little better every time, and I'm used to that because see, you know what? And one of these times she's gonna go all the way. Now, even though when she sees me, she cries because she knows that inside I'm that one person that wants better for her. I'm that one person that wants to see her change. We're that organization that wants to see people change, not right now, but when you're ready. Change when you're ready. We'll get you in Turning Point. We'll get you in Micah House. We'll get you in Teen Challenge. We'll put you somewhere where your life can be transformed when you're ready.
What was it like from the start when you just started walking around this? Were you like a neighborhood watch patrol?
Well, kind of like that, but the bad part is that I remember going to our first block. You know, we got there, and the gamers was out there as a Blood Street gang.
This was in the 90s?
Yeah, and when we started in '98, and one of the gang members said, "Hey, man, what's up?" I said, "Man, we're here to look out for you." Oh, good. Stand over there if you see the police. I said, no, not like that. I said, we're here to look out for you and your future. And so we started just sweeping the streets and making it clean. Like, this is what real men do, brothers. Like, for real. I know, and then they would take their stuff and we would sweep, they'd take it and throw it on the ground. And we said, we're going to stay longer then.
Sweep?
The streets.
Like literally sweep?
Yeah. Because gang members didn't care. They throw stuff on, they don't care.
Oh, I see. So when they threw it, you mean like a wrapper or something?
We'd pick it up, cans, everything.
Okay.
They threw it. And when they seen us clean it up, they throw more. They threw more. And so we just stayed longer. And we started bringing more people, and we stayed longer. And then eventually they said, hey, man, we want to help y'all clean up so y'all can get out of here. And so they started helping us to clean up. And eventually we'd come around, and it would be clean because they didn't want us to stay that long.
Did they ever threaten you? Like, get out of here?
No, they didn't. They didn't threaten us like get out of here because we weren't going to get out of here because we were mad dads and we represent the men in the community and we are the fathers of the community. You don't get to tell daddy to get out of here, so you don't get to do that. That's a written rule. It's like you don't speak about it. But when a black man that doesn't do drugs, that doesn't, do crime, that is doing good things, that's ready to pray for you, comes in your midst, you don't get to say, get out of here. Unless you're about to shoot somebody. Then you might say, y'all might want to leave. Now, that's happened a few times, right? I want to respect the mad dads. Y'all might want to get up out of here. It's about to go down. Well, then we might want to leave because that's a time when you've already made a decision that we're going to be in the midst of something that could be deadly for all of us.
Have you always approached it with that, I'm here to help you, I'm here to love kind of approach? Or did you ever walk up to people who were dealing or something like that and say, hey, you better stop that? Was it ever more like threatening like that from you guys? Like,
no,
we don't want none of this in our community anymore. You got to stop that.
No, because I save that for when I get to the jail.
Okay.
Yeah, so when I get to the jail, that's when I really get up in your ear and talk about what you need to change and how you need to change it. While you're on the streets, I just want to let you know that we're here for you, man. Whenever you're ready to change, I want you to change. To some people, the streets are addictive. It's a drug. And they have to lose their freedom to figure out, do I want my freedom or do I want this money? So I always say this, I would rather eat a lunch meat sandwich every day than just to eat steak and lobster for 6 months and then go to the penitentiary for 5 years. So make me a salami sandwich. It's okay. I will eat that because I know if I eat that, I don't have to worry about trying to feed you steak and lobster every day when I know that I can't afford to do that unless I go out and do something that's going to incriminate my freedom. I'm not willing to do that. Some people are willing to do that, So you want to go to Benihana's, you want to do all this stuff, but in order for you to do all this stuff, you got to do something to hurt somebody else. I remember going to the jail once, the penitentiary once, and I asked the man, I said, what's wrong, man? Why are you in the penitentiary? He said, I rob drug dealers for a living. He said, I'm going to rob drug dealers till the day I die. I said, why do you do that? He said, because when I was 7 years old, a man came to my house, and I watched my mother put a needle in her arm every time he would come. And I looked at him and said, I want to kill him. And so when I got old enough, and I seen drug dealers in our community, I found out where they lived and I robbed them. And that's what I do because I'm doing this on behalf of my dead mother because one day that drug dealer came in, shot that needle, and she died. And I laid her and tried and cried and did my best to bring my mama back. And I promised over my dead mama that one day I would kill that heroin dealer, that I would rob him and kill him. And that's what I did. That's the kind of things that we create when we sell drugs,
Yeah.
when we sell narcotics, when we rob people, when we do things in our community. That's what we create. And for all those individuals out there that are selling drugs, saying, "Hey, man, somebody's got to do it." Yep, somebody's got to do it. And you're creating monsters that might come back later to haunt you.
What was it like when you were a little boy? Was it the same kind of... I know a lot of this coincides with just the rise of crack and heroin. Heroin has been around a long time, but the rise of crack wasn't until the 70s and 80s. But so you grew up in the 60s, maybe even 50s, 60s?
I was born in 1955.
Okay. What you said earlier about the fatherless households now, they're doing the best they can because they didn't have a dad, and it goes back generations. But has that always been the case, or when did that start? When did the fatherlessness start? When did the dysfunction, the gangs and things like that
I
start?
think the fatherhood, the levels that it is now, has started around the crack cocaine era. Because before, a daddy would snort a line of crack cocaine and still go back, take care of his family, do everything you had to do, because you just take a little line. That's all you did. Took a little line, you party down and you go home, take care of your family. It was when you started to smoke crack cocaine that you didn't give a damn, and that you began to even put your daughter up for sale or your son up for sale. I mean, you would put your children up in the line of fire for a hit. Somebody could say, "Man, your daughter look good. She's 16, she getting big, ain't she?" "Yeah, man, go on, take her up in there, give me a rock." That has happened to millions of addicted families where their kids got abused on the backs of drug addiction, which created and broke up the family. I can tell you millions of people right now could tell you a story about how somebody was getting high and then they all of a sudden got looted into a situation and a family member allowed it to happen. So that era, the crack cocaine era, matter of fact, it's been said that crack cocaine was the only drug that made mothers give up their children, because a mother has always been the protector. But so many mothers gave up their children for a hit of crack cocaine, or gave up their families.
So just the potency and the strength of that particular drug,
The addiction.
was a huge factor in this, and that if that wouldn't have come around, things wouldn't have been as bad.
I don't know, because poverty has always been designed to be that way. And, you think about guns and crack and heroin and the epidemic of those things and how they happen in our community. A lot of that was designed to happen. When you think about the different reasons why we're set up the way we're set up, it was a lot of Semitic things were happening. The system did a lot of these things, because people keep saying we don't have no planes to fly the cocaine in. How does it get in? We don't have a gun shop. Where are the guns coming from? Why are gang members? Why don't they fight like they used to? Well, who gave them these guns? You hear all these stories about guns being just dumped in a community. This stuff is real. It's not just spaceship stuff.
It's your belief that this stuff was orchestrated.
Yeah, there's a systematic issue
Yeah.
to this, and there's a reason why many cities where there were poverty-ridden areas now are now blooming to be where folks are moving back into.
Yeah.
They're being rehabbed,
Yeah.
and folks are living. When you look at Washington Avenue in Minneapolis, wow, that used to be kind of just an empty land. Look at it now. You go down Washington Avenue, there's so many white folks, you wonder, like, what the heck happened, right? And so there's areas where poverty was there, but now there's prosperity there.
Yep.
And so you have to think about what happened to us and why aren't we excelling the way we should? The system has not allowed us to do that. And there's been years of that, and people talk about reparations and all that, but that's going to be great. But what we really need to do is continue to build the families because we need to continue to build the families and make housing affordable to them, make education affordable to them, and also give them the trauma therapy that we need, that we've been traumatized for hundreds and hundreds of years. And when somebody says to me, man, why don't you guys get over that slavery stuff? It's hard to get over something that you have to deal with every day. Every day, as an African American that's went through all the stuff that I've been through, to become a entrepreneur, to become a nonprofit leader, I still don't get the resources that my white counterparts get. I started my organization in 98, and every white counterpart that started their organization in 98 is doing 10 times better than I'm doing in a lot of ways. And the system is set up like that. And unfortunately, I work twice as hard because I have to, because I still want to stay on top of my game. I'll be 65 next year. I don't have what I need as a person that should be prepared to retire. And I'm not complaining. What I'm saying that across the board, that's the way it is. That's why Minnesota is one of those states that's in the top 5 in terms of racial disparities. It's real. And people keep saying, get over it. How do we get over something that's real?
That's why I'm a huge fan of your work, because, it's 2020, and things are so polarized in the country right now, not just with like who you're going to vote for, but also like where you stand on issues like immigration or gun control. It's like, people are radical one way or the other. And when it comes down to this issue, you're like, yeah, there's systemic problems, but we also need to work hard. Because I think sometimes people say it's systemic, so what's the point?
That's right.
And they give up. But you're not like that. You say, no. It's systemic. There's those problems overall with, the government and police and, systemic things. But we still got to work. We still got to pick ourselves up. We got to do what we can do. And I just love watching you work with those juveniles. And 4 years ago, when I came to your headquarters, and those guys were all like, these were guys who I would imagine would have a tough time being humble and listen. But around you and your mad dads, you guys have been there, right? You've walked the walk. You're older, and they listen to you, and they're humble, and they admitted things they didn't want to admit. Right? I mean, they were vulnerable. Yeah, and you show them love, and they're probably not used to that. And it's just like, I'm watching healing happen right before my eyes. And I also thought, when I watched those classes across the street in Urban Ventures from your nonprofit, I saw these parenting classes, I saw these relationship classes, I saw these job classes. I thought, why aren't there 10 tables like the one VJ had with those 6 guys around? Why aren't there 10 of these classrooms going on to help these families? Around the same time, I started doing some substitute teaching in Minneapolis, and I'd go to these classes, and you see just all the, one, they're going to be wild for you because you're a substitute anyway. But then you see like the stuff the kids write about, and you see just the way they are depressed and crying, or their tempers are incredible. One of my worst days was with 4th graders, and I saw like 4 or 5 desks tipped over by the end of the day. And they were so young to have so many emotional problems. And I thought, man. And then I found you, and I thought, we need more of him. We need more of what he's doing. And so, I guess I'm just...
And that could happen. Like right now, we have a surplus in the state of Minnesota.
Yeah.
But none of that surplus, they're thinking about giving the money back to the people.
Yeah.
But not giving any money where we needed it. And just this last session, there was very little money given to intervention and prevention in the community. And our black legislators and officials said, we couldn't get a W because everybody was so divided, Republicans, Democratic. We couldn't get any money for crime prevention and intervention.
Yeah.
And so what do you expect? Then you wonder, why is the crime going up in St. Paul? Why is crime going up here? Because you're not investing in it. We know what to do, but you're not even calling us to the table to say, what you're doing, can we do 10 of those? You can. You can do 10 of those. Let's invest in 10 of those. And so it's important to understand that the powers that be, you want to give the money back to the people and not solve some of the problems? Then when you know there's a problem and you're not investing in it, why would you do that? Is that because those leaders are people of color and you don't want to listen to them? We have the answers. And when we go in these rooms in the Capitol, it don't look like us.
Yeah.
So then those are the people that we keep voting in that don't take a look at our solutions, but we keep voting them in, and they're not bringing us to the table. You can't, if you're not at the table, you can't help making the decision.
I think it's what's politically trendy. Like right now, I know with the particular governor and politicians that we have in office, like early childhood education is a big thing. Like they tend to favor certain things like that rather than the kinds of things that you guys do. I don't know. I mean, you must have seen this over the years where sometimes you're more championed than other years depending on maybe the sway of, hey, I would almost think, VJ, that if the more conservatives would back the kind of work that you do, because it's more in your face, it's a little bit more tough love, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know if that has a
That's a good point, and that's where I need to spend more time at the Capitol. I need to build relationships. I went down there. I had a bill that I was trying to get passed. I got it. It went through, but it never got a hearing. So I'm going back to see if I can get a bill to get something to happen. So I'll keep fighting. I keep fighting. And it's interesting how in the world of politics, backdoor deals are made. Mm-hmm. And I got to get closer to the back door to get a deal made.
Or how about we walk through the front door and we just, ask the people at home watching this, donate to Mad Dads. Go to is it Minneapolis Mad Dads or Mad Dads Minneapolis?
It's Minneapolis Mad Dads.
MinneapolisMadDads.org. And I love how the individual is empowered today from the internet and technology.
Yes,
and the internet has
absolutely.
done a lot, I think, to kind of unravel the country, but it also provides us a way to do our own show, to have people just donate directly to you. You don't need a bill in the house, although that would be nice. You don't need that if people at home just chip in a little bit to the work that you guys do. So
that's right.
Check out MinneapolisMadDads.org and donate to help VJ and his work out. Just to quickly run down, you guys do those classes, you do the street outreach. Oh, you also do the homelessness work, which I was able to accompany your group on about a month ago. It was last March, in fact, or a year ago. I walked with a group of your guys, and you can even pull that up, Joe, if it's handy. Yeah, there it is. So these guys get together. Now, is this what people at home are seeing, or just what I'm seeing?
One sec.
Okay.
They're seeing it now.
Okay, great. So yeah, I made this video about going out with these guys. If you just want to skip like halfway into the video. And so, yeah, these guys, I'm just interviewing them, talking about the work that they do. And here they are now. So they're working with a guy. He's under the influence. He doesn't have a place to stay, so he stays in this like this lobby where the light rail train is. So it's outside. It's cold. Yeah, this particular guy was injured. His friend helped out there. But you guys go around and you help the people on the train. You help the people on the street. In fact, I was with this group of Mad Dads this night when they confronted. Not everyone say confront because it's not like that. But they walked up to some drug dealers downtown. And they just said, "Hey, what's going on?" And the drug dealers knew that, okay, I know you guys don't approve of what we're doing, but you're also not going to call the cops on us. So there's kind of that interesting relationship that Mad Dads has with that the people doing those sorts of things. That I don't know, it's a real unique insight and inside track that you guys have. That's
and what it's called is hope dealing. It's bringing hope to a community, and it's making sure that individuals know that we are connected to them. And even though you're doing wrong, even though that you're out there doing something negative, or you're homeless, or you're struggling, that we have something for you. Something that the police, they're not designed to do that, because they're designed to law enforcement.
Yeah, they say they're there to protect and serve, but yeah,
this is hope.
It's an enforcement thing.
They have a job. They answer calls. They're overburdened, and our job is hope enforcement. Mm-hmm. So we're enforcing hope into the community, in the hearts and minds and spirits of those that are involved. I think this is really great. Matter of fact, as you can see there, there was a guy that said, "Man, I was getting ready to rob somebody, but you gave me a sandwich and you gave me something to eat. And the only reason why I was going to rob somebody is because I was hungry and I didn't know what I was going to do." So it's important to understand that a sandwich or just something to give somebody is very helpful. And these people out there, arresting them is not going to change it. But if I can give you a sandwich and you can tell me and I'm going to put this gun away, and I'm going to just think about my life for a minute, and now I've got something in my stomach. I feel a lot better. That's why this is so critically important, that the work that we do. Man, I love the fact that people are watching and got comments. When do we get to those? I can't wait to answer some of those questions,
right
man.
now.
Those are there. People are asking some wonderful stuff. I want to go right there because I think that, man, what you're doing here in this show, this is the beginning of your show. This is the beginning, and
kicking it off.
People are going to be kicking off and watching. This is a premiere show, and so they know they can ask questions and get them answered. How do?
All right, what's that?
Can you see it? Can you read it?
Yep, I sure can.
Is that Chris? Chris?
Yeah, Chris starts off.
Am I doing what God is asking for me? That's the moment from being a youth to a man. Kudos to you, VJ. Hey, Chris, thank you very much. And that's one of the things that I believe that's important. We have so many young men that need to see that energy, that need to know that a role model is somebody. I can't tell you how many times people came to me and said, man, thanks, man. Look, because of you, I know what I want to do now. Because of you, I've transformed my life. Chris also said, strong families, strong communities. Absolutely. You got to believe that if you take a family and make them strong, man, if you're at home sleeping on crates and cardboard, and if I bring you a mattress and teach you how to start going to church and start working a job and going to school, getting the training, that's going to make a big difference.
How do people find your classes? Do the courts say go to these classes, or do they just come voluntarily?
We find them on the streets, man. We get them to our class. We find them on the streets, and sometimes they get referred. Sometimes it depends. You know, people hear about us and start showing up. It's an amazing thing, man. And we're just starting it up again. And then we had somebody say, parenting class, what an excellent idea. Lost funding. See, that's my thing. That was working for us. It was working 100 fathers a week. That was amazing. And we lost that. Absolutely. But you can help us bring it back. And then Tananye said, how do we organizations work together to help the community? And I believe it's important. That's an important question. Unity is important. In some ways, we get divided because we're fighting for the same dollars. Now, it would be interesting if we were fighting over $2 billion. We're never fighting over that. We're always fighting over 50,000, 20,000, 30,000. Only so many organizations can get that. So why are we fighting over that when we have abundant of funding, but it's not coming to we're at Walker Arts Center or the arts, and they have lots of funding. They get big funding, you know. I'm just looking for enough to have the admin staff and the things that I need to do what I need. Thank you, Tananya. And I think it's important that we try to figure out how to get these organizations to come together to look for the kind of funding that we need. Also, what is your vision for the future of National Mad Dads? And I see my role as the national president is to find local leaders to start running the local as I season in my lifetime to begin to start chapters and build chapters across the country. That's my goal. And so I just want to maintain the local chapter so that our young leaders can come in and kind of take that so I can go across the country and help others build chapters.
I found a video this morning from Jacksonville Mad Dads, a news story about a year ago from them. So I know there's other chapters in other cities doing good work.
All over the country. We got chapters all over the country. Is that the Jacksonville Mad Dads right there?
Yeah, it was a YouTube video about a murder, and then it shows real quick here. It'll show the Mad Dads down there in Jacksonville, like having a vigil. That's where I also saw your work, doing just like this, doing the vigils.
Yeah, and they're known for always knocking on doors and letting people know what's going on in the community. Though they walk the streets and do the same thing. They're a volunteer organization. Jacksonville, Florida was the last chapter that the national president, that's Eddie, that's Elder Floyd right there. He's the president of the Jacksonville, Florida Mad Dads. And they're known for creating that kind of energy in Jacksonville, Florida. That's the last, like I said, that's the last chapter that Eddie Stanton, the original founder, he started that in Jacksonville, Florida. So the headquarters was there before he died. So we're in Omaha, Nebraska. We're in Jacksonville, Florida, Buffalo, New York. We're across the country. We have a strong chapter in Pittsburgh also. And so now somebody just said, excellent way. I think you just said, go back to the questions there. It said, way to step up, VJ. Excellent premiere show. Man, thank you very much. Was that a Quasi guy? That's who that is? Quasi said, I like salami sandwiches. Hey, I know that. Then Tananya asked a question: how were you able to defend the community against social disorder for 21 years amidst so much opposition, securing funding, rival organizations? Who should be collaborating with you? That's a great question that I try to teach our young people, that there's so much competition against funding. For the last 21 years, what I've always said is this: that God is going to give you what you've got. You just got to work hard and long enough for it. And pretty much, we've never missed a pay period. We have never bounced a check in the history of Mad Dads. We've had to hold back on some things so we could pay other things, but we've always made it because we've kept that integrity. And in some ways, sometimes I feel like it's purposely, division is purposely done for us, so that we're constantly fighting each other instead of fighting and working with each other. It kind of breaks my heart. One day I sat in my office and I cried, and it was early on. I thought I had the solution for crime in the state of Minnesota, and I felt like I was onto something big. And that every time I looked around and asked for funding to grow in the way I kept growing, politicians would pat me on the back and say, just stay out on the street, you're doing a good job. But they didn't clearly understand that. I understand that, but it's going to take admin dollars. It's going to take operating dollars. It's going to take money for me to do what I need to do. And I've never gotten to the point where I feel like I can really do what I need to do. But that day when I sit there and cried in my office, and then God came to me and says, just keep saving one at a time. If you just keep doing that, don't worry about if you're ever going to get what you need. Worry about what I've gave you. And that's what I've done. Thank you for that excellent question. And I want to give this out to young people. When you're in a situation, you feel you're up against the wall, just keep doing what you know is right. And I believe that God will provide. See, you still have to work hard, but believe in your faith. How does it feel that they're holding steady, or in 20 years?
It's the first part. So curious what VJ's opinion of the state of Minneapolis is over 20 years. So you've been here 20 years in Minneapolis, a little over 20 years.
Yeah,
does he feel that the tide is turning in favor, or does he feel that holding steady, or in 20 years it's getting more difficult? So how's the city, how's Minneapolis doing overall, I guess?
Well, I feel like Minneapolis is nowhere near what Chicago used to be, and so
as far as it being a deadly city.
Yeah, but the other thing is too, when's the last time you heard somebody go on TV and say, thanks to Mad Dads, thanks to the Urban League, thanks to NAACP, thanks to Mother's Love, thanks to GVI, thanks to all those organizations, thanks to the churches, we are a better city than other cities when it comes to crime. We never hit the 100 mark homicide. Nobody. When's the last time you heard that? Could you tell me that, Brandon? When's the last time you heard somebody say, thanks to all those people, we're not where we used to be? When's the last time you heard it?
Well, it's not going to come from the news.
In other words, never. No, I'm just saying, never, right? You never hear that because nobody is giving that credibility where it needs to be. Like, we do a whole lot with a little bit of nothing, is what I'm saying. And because we do that, we don't care if you don't recognize us. But the record shows in the number of homicides that we do that without us working with law enforcement, working with communities, working with churches, we are reducing our homicide rate, being in the midst of something before it happens and saying, don't do that, put the gun away, putting ourselves on the front line. We don't have guns or anything. All we have is faith, and we do that, and you never recognize us for that. And it's okay, because the blessing comes in the lives that we save. So do not judge others, only God. What's that? Sister that high.
Yeah, sits that high.
Okay. Hey, what's going on? Let's see. I gotta go, but I appreciate good conversation. I admire the passion and the commitment to making better lives for those who've been hamstrung in life by circumstances they control. Thank you very much, Quasi Guy. And then Tananya saying, save the community one at a time. Now that's being integrity driven. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Joe, can you pull up the article I wrote in 2016?
Thank you very much for talking about our integrity. We appreciate that.
For people at home, In 2017,
Bigger, hang on.
all right, in 2017, well, 2016, again, that was right around the time of Black Lives Matter and some of the police caused deaths
Yes.
in Minneapolis. And I thought, yeah, there were one or two police caused deaths that year, and they made a lot of news. It made national news. And I thought, yeah, but what about James Bills? Or what about Bertle Beeks, right? There's other people who lost their lives and there wasn't a lot of attention. So I thought, why don't I'm going to look back at everyone who was killed in Minneapolis in 2016. And there were around 36, and I went through and I talked to the families of not all of them, but a number of them. And that's, I crossed paths with VJ there where he was at a vigil, I believe, for Bertle Beeks.
That's the Beeks family. That's correct.
And
Miss Beeks' daughter started the foundation now to fight against violence and crime.
I see your pin there on your shirt, guns down. I don't know if that's hers.
That's
but-
St. Paul. This is the
Okay,
St. Paul
okay.
thing,
But yeah, that's another thing Mad Dads does. They do these vigils, and people come out and they feel the healing from it. They cry. Stop it right there, Joe. This guy, he spoke at Bertle Beeks' vigil because not long before that he lost his son to gun violence.
Yes.
And then if you scroll down, Joe,
Jimmy Standback, and that's Ferrone
yeah,
Brown.
that's his son who had passed. And then it wasn't but a month or two later, and the father in the green,
Jimmy.
he took his own life.
Jimmy lost
And
his
so the
life.
guy I just saw talking about the harms of homicide couldn't take it anymore that he lost his son.
And that's Beeks, Antoine Beeks. He's the nephew of the mother that got killed, and he started his own organization called Face to Face. He's a former Minneapolis police officer and started the organization.
So there's so many. I remember telling people I remember just even in January this year, telling people about a couple of deaths that happened in the Twin Cities. And I put them on my Facebook page and they were surprised, like, oh my gosh, this child was home when her mom got killed, that kind of thing. And yeah, this happens every other week. And I know the numbers are little compared to Chicago, but it's still a lot, right?
Yeah, it's
and
a lot.
It doesn't get a ton of attention, but it's super tragic and traumatic. And when I was in these schools, I just saw the need for improving communities. And so then, thus I found you, and long story short, here we are today. So I just want to say that, yeah, Minneapolis doesn't have the reputation, although it used to, it doesn't have the reputation of, it used to be called Murderapolis in the 90s. But even though it's gotten a lot better since then, there's still a lot happening. There was just a guy who got killed, I think, this past weekend.
Well, not only that, the governor admitted that Minnesota hasn't did a good job in investing into those that are struggling in terms of education,
Yeah.
job training, job development. We have not did a good job. We did a great job of making sure there's a liquor store in every corner, in every hood. We did a great job of making sure that we could get access to pharmaceutical drugs. We did a great job of making sure that we could get access to heroin and cocaine. But we have not did a good job at making sure that our kids get the best education. Our inner city schools are struggling.
Yeah.
Our inner city high schools are struggling. And it's not because of the teachers,
Right.
but it's really because of the amount of funding and the kind of stuff that they need to really be successful.
What do you think when you look around and you hear about a gang murder or someone overdoses or some issue in the communities that you help, what do you think is an immediate thing that can be done to immediately address that?
Number one is that do you know how when you look on TV and as soon as there's a shooting in like a school shooting
Yeah.
or a big shooting, they tell you exactly where to get trauma support.
Yeah.
Everybody come to the school at 6:30 from 6:30
Yep.
to 12:30 every day this week. There's going to be somebody there. Tell me this, Brandon, and I want you to be honest. When's the last time that you heard of a shooting in the community and right after that they said everybody
Yeah.
come here? When's the last time you heard come here for trauma support?
Right.
When's the last time you heard that?
Yeah. No, it doesn't happen I suppose because it doesn't happen in an institution like a church or a school, so they can get the word out in the church, they can get the word out in the school. I don't know if it's at a workplace, they can get the word out in the workplace, but yeah, and there's no spokesperson for the community. Like a pastor will say there's trauma support. A principal for a school said there's trauma support. A boss for a company will say there's trauma support. But who's going to speak for the community? And yeah, I guess because a school has funds, a church has funds, a business has funds, a community
The
really.
city has funds.
The city has funds.
The
You're
county
right.
has funds.
You're right. You're right.
So the question is now is why don't we, as a people, right now I'm working on trying to get some funding for cross training with the police officers and community members that work in trauma. Because let me tell you something, I've been doing this 21 years and nobody's ever set me down and said, can I help you? Do you need some help? I've seen thousands of bodies in the street. I've heard screams that you never want to hear before. Sometimes at night I hear those screeches and those sounds that really just drive me crazy. There was a period where I had to stop looking at bodies so that I could just regroup just for a minute so I could go back out there. But there was no help and there was no one to sit down. There was no couch for me to go to. And so we're trying to create a fund now where officers and people of the community can come together, because we got to come together. We got to come together and we got to learn how to deal with this together, because you're on the front line, you're dealing with that homicide. I'm on the front line dealing with it with you. Let's come together so we can understand how to recover from all this stuff that we see. We need to learn how to do that. And so I'm on the brink of trying to do that before summer comes. I've almost got all the funding together. So if you guys want to help out and be a part of that, that's great, because I really need that to happen. I need
trauma support.
Trauma support. We
Yep.
have to have trauma support.
Yep.
And we have to learn how to deal with it. And we have to be able to debrief and kind of release some of that. Like the winter times. Like I try to do a vacation every winter because it's the only time I can feel like, but it used to be the only time there weren't that many homicides in Minneapolis. But now it doesn't matter. There's homicides all year round. But we used to be able to kind of calm down a little bit. But that's changing for us now. But I believe that is important, and I don't want the next generation to go without having that training, because many of us are damaged from that. I know for me, I have way too much stuff on my head that I wish I could get rid of, and I want to make sure that the next generation doesn't have to deal with that.
Yeah. So trauma support for victims of like gun violence, or what about people? What about kids who grow up in difficult domestic households? Like trauma support for them.
Well, we got to teach parents, don't bring your kid to a homicide. You got people bringing their kids to a homicide. Don't do that. You don't understand what that does to that kid. You don't understand. I have to nurture kids that are locked up in juvenile detention homes because they've seen too much. Don't bring your kid to the drama. Make sure protect your kid. That's important to do that.
It feels like Mad Dads covers like really all the basic bases. Now, I don't know if you offer a nutrition program, or maybe you do food shelf work, but you guys do just about everything out there. You offer parenting, jobs, relationships. You help steer kids in the right direction when they've started doing some crimes as teenagers. It just seems to me that you just need to do more. We just need more of that. We need 5 of VJs. We need, you got a team of 10 men and women in sweatshirts. You need 50 people like that, right?
People come to me all the time and say, this is what you need, but they don't have the funds. They wish I could do it. Well, and that's one of the things that we have to work on, is then how do we get that? I've got an office that I got 3 desks that need to be filled, but they have to be funded to be filled.
Yeah.
And so that's got to happen. We got some other questions here. This is pretty cool. I'm really excited about people asking questions. How do we as a community demand dollars for these things that are needed in the community? And I say we got to get ahead of, everybody's got lobbyists. Do you know how many black lobbyists there are?
Nope, I'm not a politician.
Thank you. I'm not either, but that's how things get funded.
From the government.
And if you don't have black lobbyists that are fighting for black issues, then we're not going to get black funding. So they work hand in hand. And so if we don't have lobbyists working for us, then it's not going to happen. Justin Terrell is working in the Council of Black Minnesotans. He's helping us to do that. He helped me create my first bill. Thank you, Justin, so much. Many folks are working out there. Al Flowers is working out there, and others. And I want to say a big thank you to Spike Moss and all those founders that came before me that taught me a lot of what I know. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate that. One of the things we got to do more of in our community is recognize those that came before us and thank them, the Archie Givens and all those people. So that's a great question. And what we have to do is we have to get ahead of the game. we have to make sure that we have lobbyists, and we have to make sure that we go to the state level and bring that funding
That's
down.
hard though. I mean, how do you just up and get a lobbyist? But what we can do is just reach out and ask for donations.
See, I like that.
directly,
That's
right?
what I love
We
about you,
don't
man.
need a- we don't need
Just
a-
reach out. Go to the
just reach
website.
out.
That's a good thing. Let's make that happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, we don't have to rely on others. I mean,
We don't.
we can donate ourselves, you know? We can just go straight to them and straight to the people, like I've said 100 times already on the show, and people can just give themselves.
Absolutely.
And do more of the work that you do.
Make that happen. Raise it up. We're trying to raise 150 total. Bring us up there. Get us up to 100. Tell people about us. Get us up to 150,000. I think then we can fill that office and we can do what we need to do and bring the kind of people in to do work that we have to have done. Help us get up there. We really appreciate that. Man, we're thankful for all the people that have donated. I appreciate that. Whatever you can do, $10 or 5,000, whatever it is you can do what you can. And I'll guarantee you this, we give people that other people didn't want to give a chance to. We give them a chance. We work with those that are hard to serve. We work with those that were formerly this, formerly that, and we show them how to be something great. I can't tell you the number of people that have said, "Man, you changed my life." I went from being a gang member to being a community leader. That's what we do.
How do you came in here on fire, right? You were really, and yet you see so much, like you said, the screams and the blood, and how do you do that? Because you show up at the scenes of murders, right?
I've shown
and then
up
you
at
lead
those.
the vigils and you pray for the community.
Did a lot of those.
I mean, you're people come to you with these life-threatening problems and just like the trauma that they share with you. How do you cope?
You just keep waking up every day knowing that. See, here's where a lot of people miss out at is faith is important. If you believe God has got a mission for you, then you will do everything in your power to do what God built you for. That's why I thank my mom. I look at my mom, man, and we were separated for 50 years.
I think he has a picture of his mom. Did you send one to me?
Yeah, I think I sent it to you.
Yeah.
My mom, we were separated for 50 years. And
50 years.
yeah, 50
Oh,
years.
I guess not.
I sent it to him. Remember you told me to send it to him. But it was one of those amazing things that my mom.
Oh, it went on your Facebook page, Joe.
Yeah.
It went to your Facebook.
Yeah. That my mom, man,
Messenger.
she was so excited
Mm-hmm.
when we reunited, and I had a lot of questions for her.
How did that happen? How did she find you, or you find her?
It's amazing. She called me one day, and out of the blue,
No.
and she said, "Son, where you at?" And I was like, "What?" She was in Oakland, California, in a house, a 5-bedroom house. Listen to this: a 5-bedroom house with 50 elderly people in there. 50 at $1,000 a month. $50,000 a month for 50 people in a 5-bedroom house. 10 people in every room and lots of people sleeping on the floor. And I came in, and the guy says, "What are you doing here?" Nobody's been here in 15 years. Nobody cares about these people. Their income and resources have went down so low they can barely pay $1,000 is the bottom line in Oakland, California, and they get shipped here. And I came in, man, and I said, "Listen, we're going to feed these people." My mom said, all we eat is hot dogs, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And she says, we take the hot dogs and we put them in a pot of water and we soak them and get all the sodium out. And we soak them with paper towels. And I said, "Mom, this is no way to live." And I got her out of there, and we got that place shut down. But my mom has been back for 3 years. She's got dementia, and I'm really, really happy to have her in my life.
Wow.
I know that my time is limited with her because she called me 2 nights ago and said, "Why did you leave?" And I hadn't been over there. And she said, "You were standing right in front of me and
Yeah.
you just left. Why did you leave? That was 3 o'clock in the morning. And I couldn't sleep after that call because I just kept thinking, man, she's slipping away. And that's the sign of the mental, that she's slipping away and she's trying to hold on to me, but her mind is slipping away. And I try to get her out as much as I can. And, she throws her shoes away and she doesn't mean to do
Yeah,
this stuff.
yeah.
But then I get her out. I can't go anywhere because she ain't got no shoes. Matter of fact, I got 2 pairs of shoes in my car right now that I'm taking to her. I'm trying to get her out because I know she loves B.B. King. She loves Prince. And I was like, Mom, why do you like Prince? And I took her to a Prince concert that, a band that plays Prince stuff because he was dead. But she loved it. And then, we reunited at the same time that they had at the XL Center. They had this big thing for Prince.
Oh,
And I took her.
Wow.
She was just so excited, and so it wasn't that bad. So I could get her to go places. And she was living with me, but then she fell and had brain surgery, and just one thing after another. But my mom was a strong, tough woman, man. And one time the police pulled me over because I was on my phone when the new phone law came in. I was on my phone in Brooklyn Park. Police pulled me over, and she called me, son, what's going on? I mean, I'm like, that's the first time I experienced wow, I never experienced a mother's love like that. A lot of people talk about that. Your mom feels you and knows all this stuff. I'm like, she's been separated from me for 50 years and she still got the intuition. Just think what was going on in her head all them years when I was separated from her, all them years when I was going through trauma. She's probably thinking, oh my God, because she has that mother's intuition. And now I get to feel what that's like. It's mind blowing, man. I mean, it's just like, I asked God, I said, God, I'm going to keep working on it. If I ever see my mom, I want her to see a good man. I want mom to see a good man. And 50 years later, she's bragging about me all the time. She's talking about how I love my son and he's the greatest. And I just think that's a wonderful thing, man.
wow. Well, I don't know, there's like a poetic, it makes sense to that because Mad Dad serves to be father figures to so many people in the community.
Absolutely.
So to have your mother
Absolutely.
step in and fill that void, and I don't know, it feels like a lot of people just lack that. There's that deep, fundamental, unconditional love, that you're cared for.
Yeah.
And I know you guys provide that. I saw it with the homeless people. I saw it when you were with those guys in that room. I saw it in the training. So, I don't know, man.
It's tough.
Thanks for coming down and sharing your story.
Hey, well, we
Thanks
have
so
so
much.
much. Man, we have so much to share. I'm so excited that we got questions up there, man, and we got folks checking in. That's a beautiful thing, man. And,
Well, so where are you at right now? Just kind of do a quick, I don't know, like point in time thing. Like, where are you at right now with Mad Dad? So when you come back on the show, and you can kind of let us know how things have been going on in the last, 6 months or whatever, how long it's been. So what do you got going on in the next 6 months? What are your
Well, one of
what's
the great things that we've created is that because it's so unpredictable with foundation money and all that kind of stuff, and waiting on people to give you grants and all that, we created the ability to have contracts and do services. So we provide products and safety products and community safety products to different entities across the city. So we keep people busy a year round doing work, and which means that we're not totally dependent on public funding, that we're actually enterprising our work and creating a business. And so that's really a beautiful thing. And one of the things we're trying to create is an enterprise. And maybe I'll talk about it more later, but we're trying to create a for-profit end of our nonprofit. So the for-profit end can create funding for the nonprofit.
Yeah. What's the work you're doing?
So public safety is public safety, but it's in a different way.
Okay.
And so I don't want people to snatch it. You start talking about it. Everybody say, we can do that too.
Yeah.
So we're going to just do it. We're going to do it, and we'll share about it once we get it up and running. But
Cool.
we think that other young leaders should think about, don't always depend on a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Sometimes you should have a for-profit, and your for-profit can fund your nonprofit. That way you're not stressing yourself out.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you get into an unendable loop.
Yeah.
You keep trying to fund. 1 year you get enough. Next year you don't have enough. You got to lay people off. But if you create an enterprise, a business that's for profit, then that for profit can donate to the nonprofit.
That's nice. And then I assume you'll be continuing the classes, continuing
We're going to continue the classes. We're going to continue to do the outreach.
Yep.
We're going to continue to ride the buses and the trains to make them safe. We're going to continue to go into the jails, into the schools. Matter of fact, I'm supposed to be in the jail today, but I had to cancel that for your show because your premiere is important. So there'll be a few inmates are mad at you when they see you, watch out. But I think that's the thing, though. We got to continue to do that. We got to continue to reach out for those. We got to continue to bring hope to the hopeless, help to the helpless, right? And service to those that aren't getting served. That's our job, right? Because somebody's got to do that. Somebody's got to do that. Somebody's got to look at these people and say, you're valued, you're worth something. Instead of looking at them and walk by them and saying, they got a little sign out, but maybe that sign means more than that. Maybe that sign says, nobody's paid me any attention, so I'll just take a couple of dollars. You can keep moving. What if I stop and talk to you and get to know you? What if I get you in treatment? What if I get you some help? What if I help you get housing?
Yeah.
What if I love on you and believe and start you to begin to believe in love again? What if I give you so much that you begin to believe in yourself again? What if I show you that what you've been through is nothing more or less than what I've been through? That if I can do it, you can do it too. That if that opportunity is there for you, that you can change your life and not only be transformed for yourself, but transformed for your grandkids, for your kids, for your nieces and nephews. What if I told you that the drugs that you're taking right now is not as powerful as that drug called hope, as powerful as that drug called success, as powerful as that drug called prosperity? What if I told you that money is not the answer to all your things, but that you believing in you is the answer to everything that you need?
Boy, VJ, when you're saying that, you're looking right at me, and that's like piercing right through me here. It's like, it's powerful. Your words are powerful. You're powerful. The message is powerful. The work
Brandon.
Mad Dads does is powerful. God with you. God be with you guys. Godspeed as you go out there and keep doing that work. And I know you'll make it up to those inmates for not being there today.
Well, Brandon, I want you to know. Yes, sir.
Do you have any upcoming events? I just want to hit that last question before we...
Great. Thank you. We do have upcoming events. We do. The Festival for Fathers is coming up on August the 8th. Please, at North Commons, support that.
Okay.
We've got Senior Pride Day. We're going to recognize all our senior citizens. That's coming on August 7th. We got some.
So these are in North Minneapolis?
Yes,
Both of
these events will be happening in North Minneapolis.
Okay.
You've got a lot of stuff that we're doing, but these are our premier events. Festival of Fathers, we're going to honor those fathers, man. We're excited about that. And our Senior Pride Day, we're going to honor our senior citizens, man. I can't wait for that. If you ever want to see something amazing, watch the elderly cars come up, the elderly vans come up with seniors coming out, just so we can recognize them every year. We've been doing that for the last 15 years, and they love it, man. I found out something. Our senior citizens are not being recognized. They're in these nursing homes, and nobody's going to see them. And we got to get them out of there, and we're going to do something for them. So if you want to support those events, please do. Those two are two great events.
And they're on your website, so people can go to Mad.
They won't be on our websites, but they're coming up. They're going to be on there soon.
Okay, they will be on the website.
They will be on there.
Yeah.
They will be on there. We'll put some
Okay.
information on there. But if you just make your contribution and just help us out right now, we sure appreciate it. Contact us right there at 612-822-0802.
Okay.
You can email us at contact@minneapolismaddads.org. And our address is 3026 4th Avenue South. Come on down. Go to our website. Check us out on Facebook, Minneapolis Mad Dads. Be a part of what we're doing. Join us, man. I mean, volunteer. Get people involved. I'm going to be celebrating 65 years. When I have a celebration at Shiloh Temple, I'll be celebrating 65 years of life. I am so excited that I made it, man. I made it against all the odds. And I want to teach other young people that they can make it to be 65 one day, that they can be that age. I don't want you thinking that you're going to die at 21 or you're going to die at 25 like I was thinking. You can make it to be a grandfather, to be a great-grandfather, to be a father.
Yeah.
And live. So many of our kids are growing up without their fathers because of homicide, because of crime and violence in our community. And we can turn that around one kid at a time.
You are doing that one kid at a time. This is the one and only VJ Smith of Minneapolis
Thank you,
Mad
sir.
Dads. And I want to thank you at home or wherever you are for watching this live stream of our first ever episode of the Periphery with Brandon Fertig. This will be posted on the YouTube channel, on the MCN6 Facebook page, and on MCN6 Channel 6, Cable Channel 6 in the 7 County metro area of the Twin Cities. Thanks so much. We have got more guests coming up next week. I've got Brian Jones, a molecular scientist, coming on. We're going to get kind of like eggheads here. We're going to talk about some really neat research that he's doing. How the heck can you synthesize a protein? I don't know. He's going to break it down. Hopefully we can figure that out. Thanks a lot for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
That's right. Celebration. Come on, man. Let's blow it one more time. Can we do that?
Hang on.
Are we ready?
Yeah, go.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We did it, baby. We did it.